Welcome everyone to the Society of Thoracic Surgeons Congenital Heart Surgery Database monthly webinar. Today is Tuesday, March the 16th. Thank you everyone for joining today. I hope you guys have had a good week thus far and a good weekend. Just real quick, today's agenda, the welcome and introductions. We'll have our quick STS update. We'll have our IQVIA update, and then we'll turn things over to you all for any of your questions and feedback. So again, please do submit your questions via the Q&A function. That does allow us to keep track of the questions, and we do use those for tracking purposes and to follow up with you after the calls if necessary. And also please do include, excuse me, I'm sorry, my animals are going crazy here. Also, please make sure your microphone is enabled if you do plan to use the raise hand function today. So again, just please be sure that microphone is enabled on your end, and we will mute you on this end when it's time for your questions. All right, let's go ahead and hop into our STS updates. The 2021 harvest schedule, as you're all aware, is posted on the STS website. There's the link for the schedule and harvest information. No news here, as you're all aware, the spring 2021 harvest close date is still to be determined. And again, we do, excuse me, urge you to please continue to use the open submission and continue to clean your data between now and the harvest close date. STS will, as always, we will give participants a very, very minimum of 2 weeks notice prior to harvest close date. Obviously, as per usual, we will give you all as much heads up as notice. We, want to ensure that you all continue to have enough time to submit your data, get that data clean, and hopefully not cause any more added stress on you all. We know this is a difficult and a very stressful time for everyone. So. And just a reminder that the spring 2021 harvest does include procedure dates up through 12/31/2020. The training manual for March has been updated and is posted out on the website. We did have our core call last week, so if you did submit a question, we did tackle those questions last week. I am in the process of responding to clinical questions for CHSD and GTSD, so I will continue to send those responses out this afternoon after this call. So if you have not gotten a response for a question that you submitted, you will be getting a response this afternoon. Also, just a reminder, the primary procedure mismatch report, again, just a reminder to check that report overview in the IQVIA library for current functionality. And also a very important item to remember is that for anyone that I'm sure most of you are aware, but we do have some new data managers attend these calls periodically. The primary procedure assignment does occur on the DCRI side. So when that data goes over to analysis, DCRI assigns primary procedure on their end. IQVIA and the primary procedure mismatch report, obviously we're just telling you what should be the primary procedure based on the current rules and exceptions, and what and to give you an idea of what will be assigned in analysis. So again, just know that IQVIA does not change your data. Data is sent to DCRI as you have submitted it, and the final designation of primary procedure will occur on the DCRI side when the data is in analysis. Also, we are, as you're aware, we are working on the version 6.22 upgrade. We are currently reviewing the post-op section. We're slowly working our way through the complications section. We had a call last night, and it's we're getting there. It's a slow process, but we're getting there. The surgeon leaders are putting a lot of thought into this complications section. So we are definitely taking our time with that, and as with everything. And then next, after we finish up complications and the rest of the post-op section, we'll be moving on to the anesthesia portion with Dr. Wiener and Dr. Brown and his group. So again, just a reminder that we are working to have that go live scheduled for January 1st, 2022. We are very aware that the current training manual is not very user-friendly. So Carol and I and the core group are working to, excuse me, are working to provide a new and improved training manual for you all. Obviously, I know I've said this before, I've asked for feedback from you guys, things you would like to see in the new training manual format. Again, the core group will be working on the training manual. So again, please feel free to send me any feedback of things you would like to see in the training manual, what would be helpful. And again, we would love to have your ideas, because this training manual is for you, and we want to make it user friendly for you guys, and something that you all can work through efficiently and be extremely useful for you all. So again, please feel free to send that feedback to me directly at ljones@sts.org. All right, for our next, oh, and you know what? I don't even have this in presentation view. Goodness gracious. I'm so sorry, guys. All right, for our next STS update, we are actually in need of mentors. So if you have experience, please know that we need you. We have mentors that are waiting, mentees that are waiting for a mentor. I believe Addie does have a list of those mentees. So again, we really do encourage you, if you do have experience, please reach out to us at the link below, the sts.org website. I have the link there to please go apply for a mentor. And again, actually, I have asked Chastity she's one of the members of our core group. I know she is a mentor, and I have asked Chastity if she could provide some information about what all is involved being a mentor. So I'll turn things over to Chastity so she can chime in and give you all a little bit of insight of what's involved in being a mentor. So Chastity?
Absolutely. Thank you, Leanne. If I could just plug a little bit about being an STS mentor, I think it's a give and take on both sides. And I would say that I have gained as much insight, information from mentees as I hope that the mentees are gaining from me. So I think it's a good process for everybody. But I wouldn't want it to sound like it's an overwhelming amount of time or any craziness that goes on. I would say that you provide, as a mentor, you provide some probably more real-time feedback and support to somebody. So I don't think that means that you answer a bunch of clinical questions, but what I would say is if your mentee asks you, some clinical questions, is that you show them how to really use the training manual, and you probably have some, recent history of what's been updated or what's been discussed, or questions that you've entered into the training manual that exist in there somewhere, but you can help someone kind of navigate it a little bit. I would say if you're a new data manager and you get on this call, there's a lot of things that we have ongoing conversations about, or historic things that have gone on with the database, and new data managers have no context for how to process this, and probably aren't willing to, suddenly on this call go, wait a minute, step back, tell me what all this is about. And they're just taking it all in. So I think it's a nice place. Many of my mentees email me after these calls and say, can you give me a little bit of background on this and what it means to me? Is there anything I need to be doing differently or thinking of that I'm not? And I'm able to say, no, much of this is historic. There's nothing for you to do, but you just give them a little bit more, I think, knowledge and insight as to what's going on. And I would say another thing that is big for mentees is how to get started. Okay, I know I'm supposed to collect data and I'm supposed to put it into this database and I'm supposed to use this training manual to guide me to do that. But how do I even know what cases to put in? And so sometimes you just provide that support for, well, you need a case log, and every hospital's OR case log is obtained differently. So how do you work with your own program to figure out that all of your cases get included? And so you kind of serve as just, someone with experience that can help the next person get started, if you will. And I would say as a mentor, my mentees ask me questions, and I think for all the years that I've been working with this database, that's not something I've ever thought of. And what a great question. And so sometimes I'm able to take those questions back to the core group, or I have the mentee, hey, let's submit that question to the core group, and I'll show you how, let's walk through exactly how you submit a question. And so, I think I then have gained a lot of growth myself, that I, just things I hadn't thought of. And thank you, mentee, for bringing something up that I never thought I would come across, or perhaps something that's happened in your program that hasn't happened in mine and I have no experience with. And so I think it's a good kind of relationship for both people, both parties. And so if you sign up as a mentor, if, STS will ask you, can you take a mentor on, right now? And there's no end to the relationship. I would say many of my mentees who started years ago, may send me an email once a month, may send me an email once a year. I may not hear from others at any other time. But before STS would sign me up with another, since I have a handful of mentees, they'll reach out to me and say, Chastity, can you take on another mentee right now? And, you know, if I happen to be incredibly busy or overwhelmed or too many things going on, I could say, hey, see if there's another mentor out there. Right now, I have too much going on. Hit me up again in a few months and I'll, you know, I can take on a new one. So I don't want you to think that if you sign up to be a mentor that we're going to throw 20 new data managers at you and tell you to, you know, please get all these people started and be successful. So it doesn't work like that. You know, you can email STS and just say, I'm happy to take on a mentee, you know, one mentee right now to get started. And I think it's a great place to start. I think it's something you can put on your CV, that it's kind of some growth in the database and growth in your role in your own institution. You're providing some education. And so for me, it's pretty exciting. And I think it gives me good growth. So if you have any questions about being a mentor and perhaps you're on the fence about it, you're welcome to contact any one of the core group members to get more information or other people's insights. I know all of us on the core group have served as mentors at one time or another or continue to be. So, you know, by all means, reach out, ask questions, and hopefully we can give you what you need to make a good decision for yourself.
Great. Thank you so much, Chastity. We greatly appreciate it. And again, yes, you know, we please do encourage you. If you have questions about becoming a mentor, as Chastity stated, please contact Addie Dolan. Actually, Addie is on the call with us today, so thank you for joining us, Addie. But her email address is here, adolan@sts.org. Also, again, here's the link where you can go ahead and submit an application, submit your information to be a mentor, or also to request a mentor. So again, we really do appreciate you all. And again, we all have to work together. And as we all know, this is one extremely complicated database, and our new data managers, I could not even imagine coming into that role and being, I know it's completely overwhelming. So again, we do encourage our seasoned data managers to please sign up to, as Chastity stated, just take on one mentee to get started. And you know, we have to take care of each other. So thank you guys very much. We really do appreciate you all. And also, I just wanted to bring awareness this week, as I'm sure you all are aware, is Patient Safety Awareness Week. And one of the goals of these monthly webinars specifically is to provide education for you all. So I am reaching out to you all to share, if you would like to highlight any quality improvement initiative that you all have implemented at your hospital, please feel free to reach out to me directly so we can discuss. I would love to have you all participate. You know, you all from the data manager community, you all participate in one of these monthly webinars. It's not just, you know, Carol, STS, core group members. We would love to hear from you. What's working at your facility? What, you know, quality improvement program initiative that you've implemented, something that you think would be extremely beneficial to other hospitals. You know, we have to collaborate to continue to improve our outcomes and work for and improve our patient safety. So again, please reach out to me. Again, I would love to have you all participate in some monthly webinars and highlight what you guys are doing. So we would love to have you on. Also, I wanted to reach out to you to see, you know, please provide any suggestions for me that you would like to see in these monthly webinars. We do have a couple of topics that we were talking about before the call. We know renal failure is big for you all. That's causing a lot of confusion, a lot of questions, and actually we did discuss that on our upgrade call last night. So I'm going to talk to the core group members, and for our next call, our user group call, we're going to hopefully provide some sort of clarification. I think we did get some clear direction from the surgeon leaders last night on what they expect and how to code that renal failure. So we'll be bringing that to our user group call next week and hopefully provide further clarification. Also, we would like to provide further education on OpType. Let's see what else we are looking at. Also looking at assigning primary procedure. As we all know, that's a huge question that we get a lot, designing primary procedure, and how does the stat score play into that? So we're just looking at lots of different topics to help everyone. I know this benefits new data managers. It could benefit data managers that have been around a while. So again, please feel free to send me any ideas that you would like to hear for education, so we can work with the surgeon leaders and have you all on. So again, please reach out to me so we can provide the education that you all specifically need and want. That is all that I have in terms of the STS updates. I know IQVIA has a few updates, so I'm going to turn things over to Joe. So with that, I'll let Joe take over. Thanks. Oh, is Joe on mute?
Talking on mute. Yep. Thanks.
I do it all the time. It's quite all right.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Just have a couple updates for today. First, we're going to go over a recap of items that were introduced in the update on February 27th, a couple weeks back. Starting with STS 5474, the missing variable report is showing the prothrombin complex concentrate 3 dose 3 variable as missing in the report, even though it is not active on the case form, and that has been resolved. The participant dashboard, STS 5484, the STAT4 filter was excluding cases assigned to the LV endocardial fibroelastosis resection and double root translocation procedures, and so that's been resolved as well. Then on the primary procedure mismatch report, STS 4386, the report logic was updated to include consideration for identified combination codes for primary procedure. And then 4371, we added the Kawashima procedure to the exception 1 code list. And then STS 4387, logic has also been added so that Kawashima procedures will be considered primary when coded in conjunction with a Glenn or Hemifauten procedure. And then continuing on with the primary procedure mismatch, STS 4389, the report logic has been updated to include specific rule for 3 identified VSD repairs when selected in combination with the PFO, primary closure procedure. And then STS 4388, the report logic was updated to include specific hybrid approach codes to the exception rule 1 procedure specific factor lists. And you can see those hybrid approach items listed there. And then finally, the STS 5471, a defect was corrected. The report was displaying a mismatch between the TOF repair and no ventriculotomy.
Yep,
and the
RVOT. Yep,
thanks. And the RVOT procedure 510, and so that was resolved with those report enhancements as well. All right, and then a couple items coming later this month on March 27th for the primary procedure mismatch report STS 6168. The rule consideration right now is incorrect, where the combo procedure is being incorrectly assigned as the primary. And so specifically the report is displaying the STS primary procedure as the combination code 2110, where it should display code 1180. And then STS 6108, there is a discrepancy where the exception rule should suggest the highest stat score value for the Norwood procedure 870 instead of the superior cavopulmonary anastomosis.
Yep, you got it.
And PA reconstruction 2130. And that should do it for my updates for today.
Thanks, Joe. Yeah,
No
don't worry, you're not the only one that struggles with those pronunciations.
I'm learning over time.
Struggle all the time. And I think that's all we have from the IQVIA side. And again, any tickets currently under review, IQVIA is following up with those. And with that, let's see here. We have our standard support plan. Again, you all are very familiar with this information. Again, just please do include that participant ID when you do reach out to STS and IQVIA. List of resources available to you all on the STS website. as well as the STS tech support email and phone support number. Again, here is my contact information if you all do need to reach out to me directly. I do have several emails in my inbox. My inbox has been blowing up over the last couple of weeks. So thank you all for being patient with me, and trust me, I will be getting back to you. I'm taking them one email at a time. So thank you guys very much for your patience. If you have any database operational questions, of course, feel free to reach out to us at stsdb@sts.org. If you have any questions specifically regarding your contracts, Schedule A's, Schedule B's, anything like that, just reach out to us at stsdb@sts.org. Before we hop into our questions from you all and turn things over, just to be sure you go ahead and mark your calendars. Our next user group call is scheduled for March 23rd at 12 p.m. Central. Our next monthly webinar will be April 20th, and then followed up with our next user group call in May 4th. So again, just on that March 23rd call, again, we are a core group, going to touch on some of these education topics specifically. I do want to address that renal failure. Again, we had a really good discussion about that last night. So we'll provide clarification for you all for those renal failure definitions next on our user group call. With that, I'm going to turn things over to you all again. Please feel free to raise your hand if you would like to, if you need to discuss anything. And also please do submit those questions to the Q&A so I can follow up with you guys afterwards if need be. So with that, I see a few questions coming in. So I know Kelly does have a couple. Kelly, you have a couple of questions regarding arrhythmia, diagnosed pre-op, and then pneumonia, sepsis, are not always stated in the training manual. If you could please submit those via the FAQs. Actually, we would like to discuss those with the core group as a whole before we respond, just to make sure that we are all on the same page. So we would like to discuss those with Dr. Jacobs and Dr. Meyer and Dr. Subramanian before we respond. So again, if you could just submit those via the FAQ, we'd appreciate it, and we will get that added to our list, and we will discuss that with the surgeons, and we will get that information for you and post it in the training manual. So Liz, do you ever hold new data manager training? We did have a new data manager training. There is a current training video posted out on the STS website. Let me see, I could probably pull it up there. I'll post it. I'll post it. You got to post it, Carol? Okay, thank you. I'll post the link. Yeah, Carol will post the link in the chat box. So we do have a new data manager training webinar that was hosted by Chastity and Leslie, some of our core group members. And again, if there's anything out there that you're not seeing that you all think would be helpful for new data managers, please reach out, let us know, and we can happy to do some further education for our new data managers. And also, Liz, if you do not have a mentor as of yet, I do highly recommend reaching out to Addie and requesting a mentor. So Kelly, op type 1 and 2, this is more for IQVIA. App type 1 and 2 case eligibility summary report. Can we review the number of ineligible cases and the ineligible filter? Let's see. I don't know. Let's see here. Kelly's got her hand raised. So hold on, Kelly. All right, Kelly, you should be unmuted.
Okay.
There you go.
Yeah, if somebody can go over that tab with me, I think I'm just a little confused about, there's a column that says number of ineligible cases. And then when I go in there and I click only filter for only ineligible, then it says total number of records and it gives me a different number. I guess if somebody can confirm maybe the meaning behind those two, that would be helpful.
Okay, Kelly, this is Melanie with IQVIA. So you're looking at your case eligibility summary report, and if you can just give me a moment, let me take a look and see exactly what you're seeing. I'm not going to share screens, of course. I'll just quickly take a peek so I can confirm exactly what you're talking about, and then I can give you just an explanation.
Yeah,
just give me a moment. So Leanna, you can keep going through, and I'll
Yes,
pull that
ma'am.
up to review. Yep.
All right, perfect. Thank you. I'll keep the question up so we don't lose it. Let's see here, Diane. So it's submitted STS 6108, and I saw that, Joe did review that information. So that will be going out into the March 2020 release that is scheduled for the weekend of March the 27th. So again, that's issue 6108, the exception 1 rule discrepancy. So that is being addressed. Let's see here. Can you please provide an update on the spring 2021 harvest? Where is the data currently? Where is IQVIA in terms of building the harvest report? It would be great if the STS could send out formal communications as requested previously, so this information can be accurately communicated to surgeons and leadership. Thank you. So yes, the STS, the data is in analysis, is at DCRI. We are currently working with the surgeon leaders to finalize calculations, dashboards. There's a lot of work going on behind the scenes with both DCRI and IQVIA and STS also. We are working to make sure all of our calculations are correct. There's a lot of effort and detail going into making sure this data is correct and accurate when it is posted. Right now we are, I think, Carol, do you know the time frame we're looking for the 2020 data? I know STS, we don't have specific dates, and the task force, we do keep the task force up to date on current situations, where things stand. They do get progress reports.
Liam, this is Carol. I think the last progress report we had was this morning.
Okay.
And it was that it was provided by IQVIA just as they were going to check. We were all going to check further with DCRI on it. But the last update is that DCRI has the data, and we weren't sure yet if it had been if it had gone into analysis or if it was going into analysis. But it should be going into analysis if it hasn't very, very soon. So I think we'll know more on our DCRI call this week with them.
Right. Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Carol. But yeah, we're all working very hard to get that data available and ready for you all. So, and once we have more concrete information, STS leadership will share that information with our surgeons. So we will provide information as it's available. I'm curious about these updates. They are more confusing to me than helpful because I have no idea what he is talking about. Liz, I assume you're referring to these updates in the slide, these STS 6168, 6108. If you'd like, you could reach out to me directly, Liz, and we can take some time offline to explain. I can take some time offline to walk through these with you if you would like. So please reach out to me directly. Can you please email upcoming user group calls as calendar attachments? Carol, I know our emails are sent out by STS marketing. I know we've had requests to do this before, but this is something we would need to discuss with marketing to see if it's doable.
Yeah, we can certainly ask marketing. I think we can certainly ask them. I can't remember what they had said before, why we couldn't do that, but we can ask them again.
Yep, thank you. Let's see here from when updates are posted to the notification section in IQVIA, can an automated email go out to data managers letting us know that new updates were implemented and posted? So
I can respond to that.
Go ahead, Mel.
Yeah, so currently we have had that request come in from other registries, and I believe that is an enhancement that we're looking into, but it's currently not available. So definitely on the list, and we understand that, of course, it would give real-time information to allow you to know immediately once that's posted, but we are looking into seeing about offering that as an option.
Great. Thank you, Mel. All right. Let's see. Nicole, yep, calendar attachments. Again, we will check with marketing to see if that can be done. And again, if they said it's not doable, well, I'll find out and I'll update you all on our next call. But I can't remember off the top of my head the specific reason or if it is doable. So again, we'll follow up with with IQVIA, with marketing. Sorry about that. Let's see here. Diane had a question. It's regarding one of our March FAQs, Chastity. I don't know if Chastity, Jana, I don't know if you want to take a look at that. Let's see, before we were, if a trauma patient goes from ED straight through to OR and then to ICU post-op, later the following morning, then the episode of care would start the date the patient went to the OR.
I'd say yes.
I would as well. But Diane, I would urge you to go ahead and submit this as an FAQ so we can get this as an example posted in the training manual for everyone to see, especially those that weren't on the call today. That would be great.
Yep.
Good idea.
Great. Excellent. Thank you. Thanks, guys. Let's see here. Nicole. All right. So when the primary procedure mismatch report, if we do not agree with what the system is telling us to change it to, and we do not make the change, does this negatively affect us? So no, that does not negatively affect you. As I said, IQVIA does not change your data. When your data goes to analysis, the primary procedure will be assigned at DCRI. So even though if the rules are being followed and the STS primary is, what should be primary, that is the primary procedure that is going to be assigned in analysis at DCRI. You do not have to change your data in your database to match what's going to happen in analysis. That's up to you as an institution. Some institutions, I know Chastity site, I believe Janet's, I think most of the core group, actually, most of them and most of the data managers that I've spoken with do update the primary procedure in their database to match what's going to be assigned in analysis. And then I know some sites do not. So it all depends on you and your institution if you would like what's in your local database to match what's being done in analysis. But again, like I said, there's no negative impact in terms of so type of negative impact if you choose not to update the data in your database.
Leanne, can I say something? This is Janet.
Sure.
The primary procedure mismatch that IQVIA is giving us is purely a courtesy to help us so that we understand and know what to expect when we get our feedback report back. If your institution wants to not follow the rules that IQVIA or DCRI is using, you can have your local data not match. The downside to that is if you're running reports regularly before you get a feedback report, specifically right now, because we don't have one, I would like that information to as closely match what's going to be in my feedback report so my physicians and my team know what to expect so that both my local data matches my feedback report. So my mortality is correct and my denominators for my different categories are correct. So this is purely a courtesy by IQVIA to do this for us, to help us clean up our local data and help us utilize it better locally. Does that help?
Oh, yes.
That's great, Jeanette.
That's
Janet.
great. Thank you so much. Let's see.
Hey,
Yes.
Leanne, can I just show real quick? Beth pointed out that there actually is the add your calendar thing
Oh,
on
yeah,
the
sure.
invitation. So do you mind if I share my screen real quick?
No, go ahead.
Okay. Just so folks see it there. And thank you, Beth, for reminding. Marketing must have gotten it in there for us. So
yeah.
this is the invitation that's sent out, and it's down here to add your calendar, add to your calendar for. So I think when you click it, it opens up. I don't know where it went on my screen, but there it is. So just showing y'all that it's there.
Perfect.
Okay.
Awesome. Thank you.
You could share again. Thank you.
Yep. No
And thanks,
problem.
Beth.
Thanks, Beth. All right. Our next question from a call. The default for op type 1 and 2 case eligibility summary is with no filter for an ineligible or eligible, which is misleading. Can you please update the default? I know Melanie's looking into this, so we'll get back to that here in just a second. And from Robbie, can you summarize what is meant by type 1 and type 2 cases? I don't know if Janet or Chastity want to explain op type, the difference between op type and 1 and 2. You guys could do it a lot more clearly than I can.
Oh,
Uptype
no,
1 and 2.
absolutely not. Uptype 1 and 2 actually represent the codes for them in the database. And so Uptype 1 is a CPB cardiovascular case, and Uptype 2 is a no CPB cardiovascular case. And so sometimes writing that out or saying all that is wordy. And so we've probably gotten into the habit of saying Uptype 1 and Uptype 2 because then it's just easily more succinct on the screen and when we're referring to it. And so it's really just behind the scenes. Uptype 1 is CPB, Uptype 2 is no CPB cardiovascular, Uptype 3, 4, 5, and 6 all have their own, I think ECMO is Uptype 5, thoracic is Uptype 6, things like that. And so when you think about your case eligibility, you're looking at the analysis cases, and analysis optypes are Uptype 1 and 2 or no CPB cardiovascular or CPB cardiovascular. And so does that make sense? Or Janet, you want to add anything?
No, that's just the cases that are analyzed are 1 and 2. So that would be your focus when you're trying to clean stuff up, or your priority.
And so you can filter by 1 and 2, or you can look at all of them.
Right. That's very important. Thank you for saying that, Janet. That's one of the things that I've always, recommended, or how I suggested people tackle your data cleanup efforts. Focus with those Uptype 1 and 2, because those are our report, included in the report, and focus on those risk model variables. And then after that, risk model and mortality variables. That's how I've always suggested how the data managers begin their data cleanup with their data quality reports, because that is, as we are all aware, those data quality reports can be extremely overwhelming. So thank you for that recommendation, Janet. Let's see here. You're welcome, Robbie. So when are the new stat scores going to take effect? And Trish, I think you're referring to Dr. Jacobs' paper, actually, that may have been just released. I know, Janet, we were discussing that prior to the start of this call. I do not have an answer for that off the top of my head right now. We need to have an internal discussion. I would need to get confirmation with the task force. That would have to be a surgeon leadership decision of when those new stat scores would take effect. I don't know if anyone had anything else to add on that. All right. Excuse me, Melanie, did you have any update for Kelly or McCall on their questions about this eligibility summary?
For Kelly's, I need to actually, Kelly, if you can ping me your information in the chat so I can reach out to you. I'm just seeing something in regards to a couple of these cases in 2020. Okay. So I think just because we're going into your data that I would not want to discuss this on this call, but if we can talk today and discuss that. From a call, let me see, eligibility summary, no filter for, I think she had put in an enhancement regarding that from a call. I'm hearing feedback.
Somebody might want to go on mute.
Okay.
Okay.
I think it's Dr. Meyer. Hold on, I'll put him on mute. Okay, I muted Dr. Meyer.
Yeah, and I think from a call, I think you had raised this before, and I think your scenario, we had discussed that also, but let me go back and see, there was a specific reason, and I know that's an enhancement, and it may also relate to Kelly's question also, but I can follow up with both of you. But McCall, I think we already did a follow-up to discuss this for you, but again, I'll just send a message just to make sure we're on the same page and we have your enhancement request in as it should be. Okay, so that will be today. And Kelly, again, if you can just put your info in and I'll reach out to you today.
Great, thanks, Mel. All right, Nancy, what is the link to Dr. Jacobs' paper? Oh, Kelly, did you have your hand? I think I unmuted you, Kelly. If you had a question, I just saw your hand up. I apologize. Okay, it's like you're muted. Okay, I assume that was, I don't know if you have any other questions, but Nancy, I can email you the link to Dr. Jacobs' paper, or if someone has it handy, they could put it in the chat. It's in my email right now, to be honest. So,
Leanne?
yeah.
It's Kelly. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes. Go ahead, Kelly.
So this is actually back to that op type 1 and 2 case eligibility summary report that Melanie was talking about. I actually just needed some clarification, not to, specific to my data, but to the functionality of the report. So I was just hoping that maybe she could walk through that. I think I'm just a little confused about the number of eligible cases column, and then when you do the filter, it changes the number of records. I think it's just a little confusing, and some clarity would help.
Okay. All right.
Does
So
that make sense, Melody? I'm sorry.
it makes sense. I'm just seeing, and I'm wondering if this is adding, but I just wanted to make sure that what I'm seeing is correct. And it looks like it's related to the 2020 cases. So, but I will give an overview in regards to, and I just see if I can pull up a different site. Give me a moment.
Okay. While you're doing that, Mel, I'm going to answer Nancy's,
Yeah.
one of
go
Nancy's
ahead.
questions. Will the new report have more drill down on outcomes besides the top 9 procedures? So I assume you're talking about the benchmark procedures, Nancy. The new report will have drill down capability. And it's going to look a lot like the reporting dashboards will include the lesion specific reports. It'll include table 1, most of all those tables that you guys are used to seeing within the original feedback report. And you will have drill down capability. Table 16, you'll be able to drill down. Most of all the tables, within that report, you'll be able to drill down to the patients to see which patients were included. Table 16, which patients were included in that analysis. So you will have that drill down capability, and that's one of the amazing and one of awesome features of within the IQVIA platform is the ability to drill down on those numbers and identify those patients that were included in that specific analysis. And I'm not sure I understand the other question. What do you suggest we use for report until we get one? What do you suggest we use for report until we get one? Length of stay, I assume. For example, length of stay. I don't know, Chastity or Janet, do you guys have any?
I mean, we're just using the old benchmarks right now and comparing them to our current data. The length of stay, the post-op length of stay doesn't seem to move that much. So
Right. That's what we're doing as well.
Okay, great, thank you. Okay, I don't have any additional questions. I don't see any hand raised. So Melanie, whenever you're ready, we can feel free to share your screen.
Yeah, I don't have a test site that I am
Okay,
comfortable with using on screen. So
Okay.
my apologies. I
It's
just
okay.
wanted to make sure that we have a visual in front of us so everyone is aware.
Let's see, Robbie submitted a question. Sequence 1301, how to fill it in if the patient doesn't go under hypothermic circulatory arrest or selective cerebral perfusion. Janet, Chastity, would you all prefer that to be submitted?
If
Yeah.
you remember, Leanne, we talked about this last week on the core group call, so the answer should be coming out in the training manual.
Yep.
And offhand, I can't recall. What we do know is that there's a mapping error for this, that you should only have to fill it out if there's circ arrest or cerebral perfusion, but I can't remember what in the interim until the upgrade occurs next year,
Right.
what we told people to do. So I would say, look, the training manual will have this updated shortly.
Yep.
Yeah,
And Robbie, if you said, I'm sorry.
This is John Meyer. I'm
Hi,
finally
Dr. Meyer.
got on. I had a conflict because my longtime secretary was retiring or is retiring, and we were having a little luncheon for her. So I
Nice.
apologize for being late. But
No worries.
yeah, I think if I remember, we discussed this and recognized that there's this. I think this is a question about cooling time. Is that right? Is that the
Yes, sir.
right? So I think that we figured out that the intent was, as you correctly have described, that we only have this for hypothermic circulatory arrest or regional perfusion, and not for every case where you cool on bypass. So
Perfect. Thank you. All All right, and again, as Chastity stated, Robbie, this is one of the questions that that will be going into the training manual, so you'll see those updates soon. And if you submitted that question, you'll be getting the response from me directly here this afternoon. So, all right. Let's see, what else? I don't have additional questions. I don't know, Mel. I don't know if you.
Another moment.
No,
Yeah, it's just that I need to pull up a report. There we go.
Dr. Meyer, did you have any updates that you wanted to provide while we were on this call with the data managers?
No, only that we're we're slugging our way through the data collection form and trying to get rid of stuff that we don't think anybody has used or will use. That to try to follow the precedent that's already been set on the adult cardiac database about eliminating, data entry that doesn't contribute anything. So we're definitely actively involved in that process, and we're trying to make it more logical. And fortunately, Leslie and Chastity and have been joining all of those calls, and they can tell us where the pain points are for the data managers, and how we can make it either easier, or if the data is not useful or relevant, to just ditch it. And it's particularly useful to hear what takes digging through pages and pages of hospital records, electronic or paper, to find one bit of information. If we're not going to use that bit of information, we're going to not include that anymore. So that's actively in our mindset as we're trying to make the data collection form more relevant and less time consuming to use.
Yes, absolutely. I think we're going to make some data managers very happy with some of these, with this cleanup effort.
Right.
Let's see here. Nicole, I just wanted to verify, because this keeps changing for me after I upload data. Under the primary procedure mismatch, if I am selecting the range 2017 to 2020 and the screen will only display 2 years, 2018 and 2019, is this because 17 and 20 data doesn't have any primary procedure mismatch? So, Melanie, did you want to?
Yeah, I can comment on that. So she's saying that she confirmed she uploaded 2017 through 2020. And currently when she reviews the report, she only sees 2 surgery years appear within that time frame. Correct? Is that?
Yeah, that's what I'm reading. Yes.
So within that time frame, if those surgical years are not appearing, that means that the system has not identified any mismatches for those surgical years. So no cases came back as identified as a mismatch. So you will only, the filters are dynamic. So it picks up on if there are cases identified within those surgical years, then you will see what's available. But if it doesn't meet the criteria of appearing in that surgical year, basically you won't see that filter. So that's it is dynamic.
Awesome. Thank you, Mel.
And I can go ahead and share my screen. I had to get an example up so we
Go
can
ahead.
take a look. All right, one moment. And let's do this. Okay. Is the screen up?
Yes, ma'am.
All righty. So here's the report. So everyone, just so you know, I navigated to the primary procedure mismatch and mortality eligibility summary report. And here I selected the tab down below that says Op Type 1 and 2 Case Eligibility Summary Report. And by default, you will see, again, it's going to pick up, depending on the time frame that I selected, if I have cases that meet the criteria. So in this instance, for this report, I only have cases that are for 2018 and 2019. Okay, so I may have selected 2017, but in this instance, I actually do not have cases related to 2017 in the database for this site. So you'll see the surgery years appear. You'll see the patient IDs that also have been identified within those surgical years. And then here's the filter that's being questioned: ineligible or eligible. And so eligible basically is letting you know that these cases have met all eligibility criteria of having all of those items entered. So these are ready to go. These are eligible to go into analysis. They're not missing any of the fields that are listed here. Okay. And then you have ineligible. So I'm just going to deselect eligible, and you'll see that I have ineligible cases that are appearing. And for the respective column for 30-day status, you'll see that there's an X that basically lets me know automatically that this field is missing. Now, there is other criteria that the report is looking at where it is required for us to have, and I'm just going to point out primary diagnosis and primary procedure. So if there are records that are missing, which there shouldn't be coming in the door, we did escalate the validations on records coming into the database to make sure that the primary diagnosis and primary procedure has been entered. Okay, so I also want to point those out. But if by chance, if these came in during a scenario where this was at an error severity, and I believe this happened in the latter part of last year. So if you have records that may have been updated or uploaded that potentially could be sitting at a status of this primary diagnosis and primary procedure, it was uploaded prior to the severity being enhanced to critical, then that also could be a factor that is basically having that case sit in an ineligible state. And unfortunately, we don't have a column for that. So that, and I'm not sure if that's what you're seeing, Kelly. That's why I said with your data, I need to take a little bit further look, because the cases that are showing up for you, they're sitting in ineligible, but you're not getting an indicator for which field. And I am thinking, just quickly glancing, it may be related to one of these fields, but I'm not 100% sure.
The 27 and the 21 are at the top.
These here,
Right.
yeah. So 27 records, and then you have ineligible cases. There were 21 identified in
So-
the ineligible. And again, this total count can also be related to, and that's what I have to look at to see whether or not is it the primary diagnosis or procedure. We just have to take a further look. But another thing we're going to do with this report is add these additional columns so we have that visibility.
So I think that's where I'm confused, is the number, when you filter out number of ineligible cases, the total number of records, it says 27, and then it says number ineligible is 21. In my mind, I would think that should match. It's just a little confusing, I think.
Okay.
To have that extra column in there as well, number of ineligible cases. It just seems a little confusing to me.
Okay. And I believe, again, this is another thing that McCall also had raised, and we are looking at making sure that we can make this clearer, right, to make sure that this is understood. But I think in your instance, with what I just quickly looked at, there is within the 2020 cases, I just didn't get to look further. I am wondering if you're also being impacted with the primary diagnosis, primary procedure. And of course, those columns are not here to give you that visibility also, but I'm not 100% sure.
I'll do a little deeper dive, but when I looked at my data, the number of ineligible cases, before I put any filters on, it said 0. And then when I hit ineligible, it said 15 cases were ineligible. So it just seems a little confusing, that's all. It just said total number of records. In that column, it came up 15, and it still showed 0 in the number of ineligible cases, even though I put on the ineligible filter.
And we can take a look further. We can take a look further and just to see what exactly is happening. But I know that there is, of course, again, just visibility with some of the those in particular that I'm calling out, where we don't have an associated column, not seeing that also adds to the confusion. So
Yeah.
we are looking at trying to make sure that it's aligning and it's clear to what's happening with the counts.
Okay. Yeah, I'll just do a little deeper dive into my local data to see what that looks like. Thank you for going over that.
Thanks,
Okay.
Kelly.
Thanks.
Mel, we've got a few more hands up, so hold on, Mel. Don't go away.
No, that's okay.
Let's see here. I think McCall had her hand raised next. McCall?
Yeah, hi. So thank you, Melanie, for
Hi, McCall.
going over it. But when I log into the type 1 and 2 case eligibility, I have the 2 filters on the left unchecked. So when I log in, I actually see nothing there. And just, until yesterday, I thought I don't have any issues. Right, exactly. That's what I see when I log into this report.
Yeah, no, that's not working as expected. It does default, and I'll redo it again. It does default with these 2 selected. So if
Not on
you're
my
saying
end.
you're not,
Right.
yeah, if you're saying you're not experiencing that, because I unchecked these manually. I just did that. So by default it did. And let me just, here, I'll rerun. Let's see if I just change. Let's just change this. Let's just rerun it and see.
So I was really happy that I don't have any issues, but then I just played with the filters and I realized that actually I do have issues. So,
Okay. Yeah, and I don't have, well, I'm sorry, wrong tab. The other thing too, please take a look at the tab. So see, it does default to that. I didn't change anything. So we need to probably follow up with you to see what's happening with that behavior. But yeah, by default, it would be selected.
okay, your
Yeah.
default, yeah, on mine.
Yeah, yours
it-
should not. And there's no settings on here, if I remember correct, where you're able to save, because that's the only thing I can
No.
think of. But yeah, it should automatically, when you run the report and you select this tab, it should automatically have those available. So we will follow up with you.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, McCall. All right. Okay, Becky had her hand raised. Oh, okay. Let me unmute Becky. Hi, Becky. All right, just FYI, we're getting close on time, but Becky, you're unmuted if you wanted to talk. So you had your hand raised. Oh.
So sorry, I did not mean to raise my hand.
It's okay, Becky. All right. Thank you.
So hi, Becky. We'll say hi anyway.
Yeah, hi, Becky. All right. Let's see here. Who else has their hand raised? I had one more, Nancy. I'm trying to unmute Nancy, but Nancy, it won't unmute. Are you unmuted, Nancy? Nancy, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. So I just did that when you were talking, Melanie, and I
Yes.
have 3 cases that came up. It says total number of records, 3 that are ineligible, but then on the
Okay.
left side, there's only 2 values. So why only 2
Two
patient
values,
IDs?
2 patient
Two-
IDs for you that's showing.
Yeah.
So 3 records,
Mhm.
3 total records,
Uh-huh,
and then only 2 are showing here is what you're saying.
correct.
Okay, we would need to take a look to see exactly, and again, I don't want to pull up your report within this forum, but we can follow up to see what's happening. Yeah, the expectation would be that we would see a listing here for those patients. So we can follow up with you. Our support team is on, so they're noting it. So we will get back with you.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
We have Becky B, not Becky Sam. Let's say Becky B. I unmuted you if you have a question.
Oh, I accidentally raised my hand.
Okay.
Hi, Becky. Just
Hello.
say hi.
All right. Okay. All right. I think that is it. That looks like all of our questions. Let's see, Sam. Okay, just real quick, we'll just tackle this last one because I know we're just after time. Sam, the current inpatients show in the total number, but not the ineligible, but are included in the ineligible filter. Okay.
I'm gonna have to go back and reread that.
Okay. Yeah, the current inpatients show in the total number, but not the ineligible, but are included in the ineligible filter.
So inpatient, is he talking about this?
Yeah.
Because they are excluded. That's the, all right. So
Yep.
that's, yes, Sam, thank you for raising that, because that rule, it's this, that's exactly it. And I've been in so many different reports these days. So what's happening is this column is displaying the total, meaning it's also including patients who are still inpatient, still in the hospital. This total, the number of ineligible removes, that's here. It removes those cases. So there will be a difference in the total count of what you're seeing in this column versus this column. It is actually this bullet point right here. Does that make sense to everyone? Thank you, Sam, for bringing. I completely was like, I am all over in different reports at the moment.
That's okay. Right, that's okay.
But does that help answer? Because I think that actually goes right back to what Kelly was asking.
Yep, I agree. Okay, one last question as we are currently over. I remember in a previous call not long after 341 was implemented, we were advised that sequence 1301 should be filled out on all patients, that the prior circ arrest or cerebral perfusion wasn't exclusive. Do we need to go through and remove those times from patients who did not undergo circ arrest cerebral perfusion?
I wouldn't go back. Just leave it. It's okay.
Okay.
Yeah, that's an analytic question that we can handle on the back end.
Yep.
You know, we would, you know, if we were looking at all the patients who had circ arrest, we would want that information, but for everybody else, we'll just ignore it. So I wouldn't worry about that.
Thanks, Dr. Meyer. All right. Alrighty. So we are actually about 3 minutes over. I'm sure IQVIA, I know others have other meetings to get to. So thank you all for your time today. So I appreciate it. Dr. Meyer, thank you so much for joining today. We appreciate it so very much. Thanks to my IQVIA colleagues and my STS colleagues for joining. If you guys, again, if anyone has any questions, ideas, anything you need following up after this webinar, please feel free to email me directly. My email is ljones@sts. With that, I hope you guys all have a great rest of the week, and I hope you have a happy St. Patrick's Day tomorrow. Be sure and wear your green, and have a great week, everyone. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Dr. Meyer.